To the beat of our hearts, we will do the dance of love.
So, this isn't the first time I spoke in front of a Shiki BMS playing on a screen. Last time it was on TV, but I'm too lazy to look that shit up. Sorry if I sound a little weird or exhausted. I'm a little sick, and I kind of don't really feel like, uh, you know, talking too loudly because this shit, yeah. Um, but let's get into it. So Shiki was a uh, primarily trance, um, hardcore, and drum and bass artist. These genres would kind of fuse in the scene to create a subgenre called artcore. But he was a Dojin artist, primarily doing stuff for rhythm games like Beatmania, the BMS or whatever. Um, Around the early 2000s, and he would pass away in 2021. Cristierra was a compilation CD released in 2010. Cristierra was specifically a compilation CD of Shiki works up to that point. Um, but it wasn't just like lazily slapping tracks together. It has an interesting structure, and all the tracks were remastered with new sections. For example, Angelic Lair, which is, like my day one cheeky track, has like this violin section that's actually really beautiful. At first, I didn't know how to feel about it because I was so used to the Chris Tears version of Angelic Layer, but it would grow on me. And a lot of these remasters on Cristierra I actually find a little more compelling instrumentation wise compared to their original counterparts. Strangely, after Shiki made Cristierra, uh, mainly due to mental health reasons, um, he wouldn't release anything new for like almost half a decade. I think maybe until 2016 or 17 was when he finally came back with some new music. So, uh, despite that, Chris Terra is kind of still like his most popular work to the point where you kind of even forget it's a compilation. Like, for some people, Chris Terra is what represents Shiki, which is understandable because it's like a collection of beautiful works. It's about 90 minutes in length, and it's 2 CD and has 20 tracks. Um, I actually re-listened to it again last night, right before going to bed. It was like 6 in the morning, and despite its length, it never feels like it dragged on. But um, I'm kind of not really here to speak on like the quality of the CD itself, or review Shiki's music, because that's never been like how I speak about music or anything. So I'm kind of gonna get a bit emotional with it, but I will talk about some tracks that mean something to me. Something about Shiki's work that always, stuck with me is that it always kind of feels like you can interpret it in your own way. Um, for example, a song like Iria is this 6 minute epic of like this pretty fast paced trance song. Um, you can either get pumped up by it, or the piano riffs that Shiki uses throughout the songs can create this feeling of melancholy and lead you into reflection. And that was kind of always something that stood out to me with Shiki, and kind of one of those things I fundamentally love about trance so much as a genre. The music feels, in a way, so inseparable from the time period that it was made in. I mean, like, even hearing these from afar, they may make you think to like 2000s uh, fucking Japanese video game music and shit like that. Um, and it kind of hits extremely for me since I associate Shiki with memories um, from a time that I am not engaged with anymore. That being, waking up early, listening to Cristier's in high school, like my last year of high school and shit. And, listening to Cristierra, with it being a collection of selected works, it kind of felt like I think I had a sneeze. Oh, I'm alright. I started thinking about a collection of memories. Um, Most of them not very good, but there's nothing really wrong with looking back and feeling bad about it. It's kind of interesting how I can't associate Shiki with anything but sadness and negative experience, but I've kind of formed a trauma bond with the music. I always kind of say sometimes that some Shiki songs saved me in a way. Uh, I don't know if that's hyperbole, but a lot of the tunes really felt like a reflection of my mental state, and I really cannot imagine living without a lot of these songs. Um, Even some of the non like Chris Tears or uh, Transfer Dolls tracks on Cristierra that were new to me made me feel something that reminded me of feeling like shit in the morning. I feel like when I was getting into Shiki, that was kind of like the last time I felt this small clinging thread of hope attached to me and whatnot. And I kind of feel like life has just gotten, or my attitudes have gotten, more hopeless as times passed, strangely. Um, and I don't really like admitting that, but I've come to feel like that ultimately is just how I see things. The last song on Chris Terra is Sepia, and it's like 7 minutes long. And just while listening to it, I kind of thought about how, even when it was, times like late 2024 and, early 25, um, where I was having to deal with, the medical system and psychiatric bullshit, and being placed in places and whatnot, I still I still had drive to kind of act like I cared about a lot of things. Whereas now, removed from that, I kind of lost all that. And it's kind of weird because it's like I'm not living in that moment anymore. So I don't really know why all of these experiences are still dragging me down, and have just made me decline so much. Um, and as the new year started, I kind of felt like it was just another sign that the stagnation of my growth as a person will not leave. I never really thought about it like that much in the moment, but the last picture on the after rain highlight, which is something that holds significance that I've never really explained to others, and I kind of feel like I don't want to because kind of means something for me. So does imaginary world, but you know, I don't really want to share all that. The last post was a black and white picture of Angelic Layer BMS playing on December 31st. And words cannot explain fuck, man. I can't, like, I don't even really, hold on. I don't even know how to convey what that means without it being loaded and kind of just jargon. And I think maybe it's one of those things that I'd rather leave to the interpretation of the people who listen to me speak sometime. You know what I'm saying? Come to your own conclusion on what you think that means. I won't speak on like angelic layer itself of it a lot though, because I kind of already did that for 20 minutes, and uh, we don't really need to do that again. But we're kind of getting off track from cristierra here, I guess. So all in all, cristierra is, for Shiki, a compilation of his works. And he would go on hiatus afterward for a minute. And, for me, cristierra is a moment to reflect on my own memories in this period where I feel like I am not moving forward either. Is it just merely hiatus? And will I someday be able to be myself again like Shiki? Or is this really the end? Who knows? That is all I have to say.